Alright, this is just a quick intro to get those of you started who are working on assignment 3, track 1, which is actually the same assignment that was assignment 2, track 2. So the PDF file you have with the description of the project has your first explanation sheet, and then there's 4 sheets that follow it up. The second sheet, page 2, is the grading plan with the base plan underlaid. So this is what your final plan will look like. The third page, which is the second plan, shows you the grading that is actually the pieces that you're going to draw on the grading plan. So these are the actual lines you're going to be creating. Third sheet is the planting plan over the base, and the fourth sheet is the planting plan, which is composed of the pieces that you will be drawing. So what we have, if I'm going to go ahead and minimize this, the way that we want to get started, first of all, you want to make sure that you're starting with your template. So just to double check, I have all my layers for my template, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to XREF in the base file. So I'm going to go to Insert, I'm going to go to Attach. You need to make sure that files of type, this is AutoCAD files, so DWGs. And then what I want to do is make sure I'm in the right folder. Obviously mine will be a little different right now, so AutoCAD, assignment 3, track 1. Alright, so you will see that there are 2 files in the Architects folder. These 2 files are what make up the base. There's LEV1, which is the detail floor plan of the house, and then LX site plan, which is the site surrounding. However, we're not going to XREF either of those in, because if we go into the plans folder, this BP plan actually has both of those files already attached to them. So I'm going to highlight BP, I'm going to say open. In a minute when it asks me for base points, since this is based on the site plan, I'm going to be inserting this at 0, 0. So instead of checking this specify on screen, I'm going to uncheck this, let this as 0, 0, change my type to overlay, and say OK. You can see in the command line down here, you should see everything load and go by. If I open up my XREF palette, type in XR, enter, you'll see that all 3 of the files are loaded. BP is loaded, LX site plan is loaded, and XLEV is loaded. This view may be different than what you see. The XREF views can be toggled by detail view or tree view. Okay, so you should have these 3 XREFs. And then on the screen, I'm going to go ahead and zoom extents so that I can see everything. You'll notice right away that our drawing is coming in with north facing directly up, but if you refer back to the plans that we have in the PDFs, we want these oriented so that the house is orthogonal with the sheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new UCS. So if I go to my View tab, I'm going to choose 3-point UCS, and I'm going to pick 3 points from the architect's plan. So I'm going to click first point for the origin, second point is just any point along this what's going to be the x-axis, and then any point along the y-axis. So you'll notice my UCS icon changes. I type plan and hit enter twice. So I now have my drawing set up to correspond to how I want this showing on my layouts. Next thing I'm going to do is, and I'm not going to do all of these, but if you go to your home tab, there's this freeze layer button, which is very helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. What this does is any line I select, it will hide, or I'm sorry, freeze that layer. So I'm going to go through here, and any of this information that's extraneous, I'm going to go ahead and turn off. I'm not going to do all of this right now, but I don't need all this dimensioning. And there's some other pieces that will turn off as well, in particular for the grading plan. But this at least will give me a start. Alright, so I have a fairly close base plan to what we're going to be working with. At this point, there are 4 files that you've received, and they're named slightly differently than what you're going to see here. But we have a grading plan, black and white, grading plan, color, planting plan, black and white, planting plan, color. What these are the actual pieces of the plan that you're going to be drawing. And just to show you the difference, so we have the black and white version, we have the color version, and between these two you can pick which one you want to use as an underlay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in here, go to insert, and hold on one second. Sorry for the pause. So we need to, at this point, get back into the inserting the underlays. We have those 4 files. It's up to you whether you want to use the black and white version or the color version. I personally find it's more helpful to use the color version. So I'm going to go to attach. And this time I'm going to switch from files of type to image files. And I'm going to go to my assignment 3 track 1 folder, and let's do grading plan color. Now I'm going to open, specify on screen, scale. If you come up here, you should notice that our scale is 1 inch equals 10 feet. So I'm going to show you what should happen. Unfortunately, the scale may not come in correctly. 1 inch equals 10 feet. Theoretically, the scale should be 120. Again, taking 1 inch to 10 feet, you have to multiply the 10 by 12. That gives us the scale factor of 120. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK. I'm going to locate the plan, and you'll notice, or what I'm suspecting is it's not going to come in at the correct scale. Based on the fact that this is a JPEG image, the original source image, as it's referenced, comes in as 1 inch wide as opposed to the 42 inches that it actually is. So we're going to have to scale this based on a reference. Luckily we have a visual scale down here. So just for visibility's sake, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the image. Then I'm going to use my fade to bring that down a bit. I'm going to go to Home, Scale, select my image to scale, base point I'm going to put right on this visual scale. So my option for scale factor, I don't know what the math operator is to scale it up, so I'm going to type R for reference. Reference length is from 0, and I want to make sure that I have ortho turned on for this. Come over to 20. And when it asks me my new length, that new length is going to be 20 feet. Enter. So, first thing, we need to get this, select it, right click, draw order, send to back. We need to find a reference point. And the reference point that I have, at least as an approximation, is the text that's in here. So I'm going to select my image, go to Move, zoom in on a portion of this text. Let's say the bottom of the E. You're going to see this isn't perfectly aligned. That is, and it looks like I turned that layer off. So let me use a different reference point. You're going to notice it's slightly off just for the simple fact that the scale of 1 to 20 was a short distance on our sheet, as opposed to having a length from one side of the sheet to the other to be able to scale with. There might be a little bit more margin for error. So I'm going to move. Again, I'm going to select the image. The move point I'm going to use is actually this 746 contour tick. You could also use this corner wall point down here on the 744. So I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to zoom down. And find the location of that snap, which I'm fairly certain is right here. And I can see my wall is matching correctly. And now I have my grading plan as an underlay to begin drafting. So what you'll do is simply make sure that you're on the correct layer. So in this case, this will be L-topo minor. So then you'll use your polyline command, and we are going to make sure my O snaps are off. But as best as possible, I'm going to trace over top of these lines. The important piece is where I actually have a base file line that it meets with, I do want to make sure it snaps to this line. So one trick is under O snaps. If you right click, there's an option for nearest. And what nearest does is it doesn't go to an endpoint, a midpoint, or anything. It just makes sure you snap to that line. And obviously I would repeat this for all of the grading lines and do the same thing for the planting plan. Scaling and everything should be the same for the planting plan, and that should get you started.